Homage to the root teacher Buddha Shakyamuni. Homage to the wisdom warrior Manjushri. Homage to all the benevolent lineage masters. The supreme Dharma, infinitely profound and subtle, is rarely encountered, even in millions of kalpas. Now we are able to hear, study, and follow it. May we fully realize the Tathagata's true meaning. In order to liberate all sentient beings from samsara, please generate the Supreme Bodhicitta. Let's continue our study of what, in Tibet, is regarded as a profound teaching. The words of my perfect teacher, the preliminary practices of the great perfection of the Longchen Nyingtik. The commentary is set out in 3 parts. The way to listen to the teaching, the actual content, and the conclusion. Under the first, the way to listen, come the right attitude and the right conduct. We have finished the right attitude. Now we turn to conduct, which has 2 sides, the conduct to avoid and the conduct to adopt. Conduct, of course, isn't only that of body and speech. The mind's motives are included too, so it covers body, speech, and mind. The conduct to adopt is explained in 3 parts, relying on the 4 metaphors, possessing the 6 perfections, and observing the other points of demeanor. We'll take them in that order, beginning with the 4 metaphors. But first, recall the conduct we should avoid while listening to the Dharma, which we covered before. We have already discussed the 3 faults of the vessel, the 6 stains, and the 5 faulty ways of retaining the teachings. These are crucial, and we must clear them away as we listen and practice. Once all such faults and obstacles are removed, our practice will succeed, for the obstacles on the path will have been cut off. These, then, are the points of conduct to abandon. Among the points of conduct to adopt, the first is the 4 metaphors. As the Avatamsaka Sutra says, "Noble one, think of yourself as a patient, of the Dharma as the medicine, of the spiritual friend as a skilled doctor, and of diligent practice as the cure." These are the 4 metaphors. Their literal sense is simple. In seeking the Dharma, we must never be without them. First, think of yourself as a patient. Since beginningless time, karma and afflictions have bound our mind stream, leaving us gravely ill, patients whose sickness has reached the vital organs. So we should always see ourselves as patients. Next, think of the sublime Dharma as the medicine. After all, once you've fallen ill, if you take no medicine at all, there can be no cure. So think of the Dharma as the medicine. Then think of the spiritual friend from whom you seek the Dharma as a skilled doctor, a famous and expert physician who can heal your illness. And your own diligent practice is the treatment itself. These are the 4 metaphors. These 4 are taught mainly in the Avatamsaka Sutra. The wish-fulfilling treasury quotes the Sutra of the 10 Dharmas, and likewise sets out many ways to think during one's search for the Dharma. The precious treasury of pith instructions, 2, gives 6 ways of regarding the spiritual friend while relying on him. For instance, regarding the spiritual friend as a caravan leader, a ferryman, a king, or an escort. 6 ways in all, through different images. I recall that in the great treatise on the stages of the path to enlightenment, Tsongkhapa also gives 6. The first 4 match those in the Avatamsaka Sutra, and beyond them he adds 2 more. To think of the Tathagatas as holy beings, and to wish that the Dharma may long endure in the world. That is, in this age of decline, the true Dharma is transmitted through the spiritual friend. When we meet him, we should regard it as meeting the Buddha himself. That's how it should be put. For these teachings to last a long time in the world, we must penetrate the Dharma. Through study, reflection, and practice, we should keep it alive. So if we want to spread the Dharma, We must listen to and reflect on both kinds, the Dharma of Scripture and the Dharma of realization. This is how we should think. And in our daily study, it's important to contemplate in just this way. First, set your view straight. Regard the teacher as a true doctor, or, as other scriptures put it, as the Buddha. A true spiritual friend, being no different from the Buddha. Contemplate this way, and his teachings will benefit your mind stream and can cure the sickness of your karma and afflictions. Otherwise, if your usual thought is, I have far surpassed the teacher, the Dharma is nothing precious, I have no sickness of karma or affliction, diligent practice is useless, mere talk. If you reverse all four metaphors like this, then no spiritual friend, not even the Buddha appearing alive before you, could do your mind stream any good with his teaching. So when we first take up the Dharma, this attitude matters greatly, as in worldly study. To learn any subject, you first respect the teacher, then respect the knowledge he imparts. You place yourself in a humble position and study hard, with a thirst for what he teaches. You should have at least this much. Without it, look at worldly study. Suppose someone is admitted to Tsinghua, one of China's top universities, but doesn't respect the teachers and rejects all they teach, no matter how many years he studies there. By graduation, his mind won't have changed at all. It's the same when we study Buddhism. It's important that the teachings of the great masters truly enter our hearts. As the text says, since beginningless time, we suffering beings have been sinking in the great ocean of samsara, like patients tormented by the three poisons as cause and the three sufferings as result. We pitiable beings have long been submerged in that ocean, afflicted by the three poisons, desire, anger, and delusion as the cause, and by the three sufferings as the result, the suffering of suffering, the suffering of change, and all-pervasive suffering. These constantly torment and bind our mind stream. We can see it plainly. Every being in the three realms carries within its mind the seeds of 84,000 afflictions, desire, anger, delusion, and the rest, always present, ready to break out and take hold at any moment. We beings truly live in this state, tormented by the three sufferings. Some think, my mind is pure, I have no such suffering. But once you truly understand samsara, take anyone wealthy, anyone with a family, anyone who seems happy. Are they happy at heart? In truth, they aren't. When we observe the people around us closely, those with some realization of the Dharma find a real happiness, tasting a true and great bliss both worldly and beyond. Others simply can't see the sickness in their own mind stream. Some, in their delusion and confusion, think it normal to have desire, anger, and delusion in the mind, and reckon anyone free of desire or anger to be the odd one out. For instance, when a young person won't marry but wants to study and practice the Dharma, the people around him take him for a freak, sure that something is wrong with him, never seeing that they themselves, driven day and night by desire and anger, rush about like madmen and call it normal. This is why the great masters say that in this mad world, the light of true wisdom can never shine forth, while the darkness of delusion and confusion fills the inner sky of every mind. In a world so frantic and so blind, true wisdom and compassion are hard to spread. So here we should reflect. First, recognize that we're gravely ill. Just as a gravely ill patient who longs to be free of pain and to find ease, who longs to be healed and made well, must rely on a skilled doctor and follow his orders, taking the prescribed medicine at the right time and in the right dose. This much everyone in the world understands. If we contract some serious illness, leprosy, say, or tuberculosis, we must rely on a skilled doctor, seeking help in every direction, as people say, and follow the orders of a doctor of clinical experience, wisdom, and compassion, taking the medicine at the right time and dose. Only then is there a chance of cure. In the same way, we must rely on a qualified teacher who's like a skilled doctor. Follow his word 100% and take the medicine of the authentic Dharma. Only then can the sickness of karma, affliction, and suffering be cured. Just now we said that in the world, one seeks a doctor once ill. That is sickness of the body, as everyone knows. Countless people go to the great hospitals to treat bodily illness. In big cities, Shanghai, Beijing, Chengdu, if you visit a large hospital, thousands come and go every day. Their purpose, each has some illness, and there they seek doctors, expert diagnosis, and consultation. I always feel, on reaching a great hospital, how pitiable beings are. The suffering of birth, aging, sickness, and death that the Buddha spoke of is no empty word. You see so many people, some young, some old, some children. Everyone with a bodily illness comes for treatment, each looking for the most ethical and capable doctor to diagnose, treat, and prescribe. In the same way, we beings have been in samsara since beginningless time, and our minds have fallen gravely ill, though at times we may not notice it. People in this age of decline have contracted a serious sickness of karma and affliction. Karma and affliction bind the mind stream, yet we don't realize it. So these patients must find a teacher who has the qualities described in both the Sutrayana and the Vajrayana, a teacher like a skilled doctor. And finding a teacher isn't enough. The teacher must transmit the teachings. And once you receive them, you must follow them 100%. Whatever the teacher says, you do. The teacher will surely expound the sublime Dharma in accord with the truth, and you should practice it just as it is. Only then, as Longchenpa taught, relying on the teacher through the three ways of pleasing him, material offering, service, and practice, can the sickness in your mind stream have a chance to heal. Many of us should make this aspiration often, that if, in this life, I have the chance to rely on a Dharma teacher, I'll do my utmost to please him and will faithfully practice every teaching I receive. Some teachers do train and tame disciples through unusual instructions, but for most, the proper course is to expound the authentic Dharma of both the Sutrayana and the Vajrayana, which we then practice accordingly. There are, of course, a rare few teachers who use unconventional means, as in the lives of Milarepa and Naropa. Some teachers guide disciples by various skillful means. This happens too, and at such times we should rely on them with a pure mind. Patrul Rinpoche says in one teaching that if, with a pure mind, you regard the teacher as the Buddha and rely on and serve him single-mindedly, then every attainment and liberation comes easily. So as we rely on a teacher, ordinary beings being full of all kinds of judgments, the teacher may truly be a great adept or a great bodhisattva, while people at the time fail to see him as a real Buddha or adept. That happens. So we should treat every word the teacher says as an instruction. This is important. I have told you before. I once read a life of Thukun. It says that when he first set out to study, he was desperately poor. Even 3 meals a day were a problem. As he relied on spiritual friends and studied among Dharma companions, he met with many money troubles, and it weighed on him. He thought he might practice the yellow jambala ritual for wealth. So he found a coppersmith nearby and had him make a yellow jambala statue. When it was done, he went happily to his teacher, at that time the national preceptor Chankyarolpe Dorje, who was famous, so that Thukan managed to see him only with great difficulty. When he did, he asked, "Master, would you consecrate and bless this yellow Jamhala statue for me?" and set it before him. Before the master could consecrate it, his little dog, he kept one as our own Jigme Phuntsok Rinpoche did, came over and urinated right on the bronze statue. At this, a sour thought rose in Thukan's mind. He was disgusted with the dog. "My statue is fouled." Then the master said to him, "My dog is no ordinary creature. I need not consecrate it. The dog has consecrated it for you already." After that, the master didn't consecrate it as Thukan had wished, and he had no choice but to keep a pure view and carry the statue home. There he set it up, made offerings, and went on practicing yellow jambala. After a time, his whole life changed greatly, and wealth came pouring in. Later, as you may have read in the histories, he became a great master of his age. Thukan was famous indeed. By some accounts, he even became national preceptor to Emperor Kangxi. He himself later recounted that whatever the teacher says should be received as Vajra speech, words carrying uncommon blessing and auspicious power, a point the teachings often stress. So when we meet a truly great adept as our teacher, his words should be taken as holding hidden intent and uncommon auspiciousness. Practice by his instruction and you'll surely gain accomplishment. It's like certain worldly doctors whose prescriptions look strange and seem unsuited to the illness. Yet, once you take them, they truly work. In Tibetan and Chinese medicine alike, there are often remarkable workings of cause and condition. But in the medical world, there are also fake doctors who know nothing of medicine. And in the Buddhist world too, among the ranks of teachers, there are some who, for their own ends, pose as masters and trade on the title. Their aim isn't to bring real benefit to disciples' mind streams, but to win their own fame, position, and other goals. This happens in the world as well. So we must first open the eye of wisdom and tell a truly qualified spiritual friend from an unqualified one, and then rely on him faithfully. Only then can the affliction sickness in our mind stream be cleared away. Conversely, even having relied on a teacher, if you don't act on his instructions, like a patient who ignores the doctor's orders, whom the doctor can't help, the teacher can't benefit such a disciple. Even if you have followed a teacher for many years, if you haven't faithfully practiced his teachings, they can't benefit you. Just as a worldly patient who won't follow the doctor's orders to take medicine or injections, can his illness be cured? Surely not. As the great Indian master Shantideva said, "Has any sick man been healed by ignoring the doctor's word? If you don't follow the doctor's prescribed treatment, how can a grave illness be cured? It can't." So, in relying on a teacher, whatever practice the teacher tells you to do, that you should do. Say he tells you to study the middle way, but you won't. "I must study Buddhist logic. Logic suits me better." Or he tells you to do the 5 preliminaries, and you say, "No, I would rather practice Togel." Or he tells you to study a mind training text like the 7 Points of Mind Training, and you say, "No, I would rather read my Bardo books," and so on. Many worldly people are just so. The teacher says one thing, you ask for another, It's like a doctor writing you a prescription that you won't follow, insisting on prescribing for yourself, which is unlikely to work. So we must think carefully about how these four metaphors bear on relying on a spiritual friend. I've been thinking. In teaching the words of my perfect teacher this time, we may cover little each day, much less than our old pace. But I'm using the chance to study it through with care myself, and I hope all of you will read the words of my perfect teacher over and over too. It hides many teachings. Between its lines lie profound and wonderful pith instructions. If we can truly mind these instructions and put them into practice, the benefit to you will be great. So we aren't rushing. We cover what we can each day. At times I feel I'm being long-winded, but then again, speaking with everyone in such plain, everyday language, you may each take something different from it. For I have always felt that the words of my perfect teacher works an enormous change in a person's practice over a lifetime. Many say the way of the Bodhisattva transformed them greatly. But for me, the words of my perfect teacher far surpasses it in changing a life. I've studied it poorly, I'm ashamed to say. And to speak this way before others is hardly fitting. Yet of all the teachings of my life, my faith in the words of my perfect teacher is the deepest. So, come what may, there may be repetitions here and there, contradictions, gaps that don't join up, all sorts of flaws. Still, in my own practice, the uncommon faith and special feeling I hold for this teaching I can put into words. Many Dharma friends here have also read Patrul Rinpoche's Vajra words again and again. How those words land for you, speaking for myself, and setting other teachings aside. Take just the four metaphors we covered today. If you truly explore them and contemplate and practice them in earnest, the whole direction of your life's practice is settled. It's deeply worthwhile. As the text also says, if you don't actually take the medicine-like Dharma into practice, it's like a patient with countless fine medicines and prescriptions at his bedside who never takes them. They do his illness no good. If we don't truly practice the medicine-like Dharma, it's like a patient whose bedside, whose whole house, is piled with prescriptions and every kind of medicine. Yet does it cure his illness? Not at all. As the sutras have said, I have taught you the sublime Dharma. If you hear it but do not practice, you are like a patient who will not take his medicine. Even I cannot save him. So the text says, the Buddha says, I've already taught you the sublime Dharma. If you don't practice, you're like a gravely ill patient who won't take medicine, whom even a doctor can't help. And there's no way for the doctor to draw out all his illness by some other means. The doctor, after all, is trained in medicine. He knows how our illnesses arise and how to cure them. So we must heed the doctor, as most patients do. But those whose minds are unwell are far less ready to heed their teacher than the sick are to heed their doctor. They trust their own judgment, asserting their own ideas, when in fact they haven't been swimming long in the ocean of the Dharma. They grasp a little of it, but next to a true teacher they fall far short. So we shouldn't be forever directing our teacher, telling him this and that, haggling with him. There's no need for that. If he's a truly qualified teacher, he's surely weighing the great matters of your whole practice. So do as he says, and your practice is assured of success. Otherwise, the teacher says one thing, and you, on your own feeling and judgment, decide, the teacher is wrong here. This other practice suits me better. If you have already settled your own path, then you have no need to rely on a teacher at all. It's like a patient saying, "The doctor prescribed this, but it's surely wrong. I'll prescribe for myself." If you mean to prescribe for yourself, don't come to this hospital. Better go to another. In fact, a place for studying the Dharma is like a great worldly hospital. A Buddhist academy is a great hospital too, with doctors and nurses of every rank, and great specialists of every kind in the Dharma. So those who are spiritually ill, coming from everywhere, should follow the diagnosis and directions of that hospital's doctors. It's to their own good. I myself sometimes think this way. The Dharma teaches here. I don't suppose them all to be great adepts, bodhisattvas of this or that level. We don't claim that. But at the least, they have the right qualities and grasp some basic principles of the Dharma. It's like a hospital with 100 doctors. Without proper credentials, they couldn't go on treating so many without being found out, which is what oversight bodies require nowadays. In the same way, a Dharma center especially needs teachers who are like good doctors. In a single city, the spiritually ill number in the thousands, far more than the bodily ill. And big cities may not even have so many bodily patients. But how many doctors can treat the spiritually ill? Look around any big city. In a whole city, how many teachers can really teach the Dharma? And so there's now a special shortage of spiritual friends who are like good doctors. So once you find such a teacher, you should take the medicine of the Dharma over the long term. As some Kadampa masters said, because we're long-standing patients, a dose or two can do nothing. It's like a single cup of water thrown on a blazing cartload of firewood. To put the whole blaze out is impossible. Some think too simply, "Oh, I received an empowerment. I sought the Dharma today, and I've been at it over a month now. Why is there still no realization? Why do afflictions still rise in my mind stream? I've been ordained 3 years, and I still feel desire. Why? Teacher, is something wrong with my practice?" It's not so. The afflictions in our mind stream are deep-rooted, habituated over countless ages, and set against the little we now practice. There's no comparison. So, every one of us should now and then examine our own mind stream. Say you've been ill for 3 years, and at last you go to the hospital for a single injection or a single painkiller. Can that cure an illness you've carried so long? The dose is so small, and the illness so long-standing, so it surely won't. When I'm unwell, our doctors here tell me, "No, 1 injection won't do. 1 in the morning, 1 at noon, 1 in the afternoon, and an IV besides." I really do believe them. When plenty of medicine enters the body's illness heals. Just so, when plenty of the Dharma's medicine enters the field of the mind's illness has its chance to heal. Otherwise, people today treat the Dharma like a simple painkiller, as if hearing a class or two should clear away every affliction, or as if, receiving an empowerment from a teacher and a blessing from his text, they'll awaken at once. They walk into the teacher's room an ordinary being, and out a first Bhumi Bodhisattva, a being at the first stage of awakening. That's far too simple a notion. But we should consider, without drinking long of the Dharma's nectar, it won't necessarily work quickly. So the Dharma we receive, we must practice. Patrul Rinpoche too said, "If you do not practice, what use are the texts?" So with the Dharma we've received, we should examine ourselves closely and often. And if we make a habit of it, the Dharma we receive keeps benefiting our mind stream. Many in this age think that if only they beg the teacher to watch over them with compassion, they have every hope, as though no matter how much bad karma they've piled up, they need feel no result, and the sheer force of the teacher's compassion could fling them like a stone into a pure realm. Many are like this in this age of decline. Cases like this are common. They pray, "Teacher, Watch over me always with compassion. I've left everything to you. When you leave this world, when you go to Sukhavati, do not forget me. Take me along. If you don't, you have no heart. It's as if they want to sign a contract today. Teacher, whenever you leave this world, whenever you go to Amitabha, I must go with you. They feel quite sure of it. My teacher is a great adept. He has promised me I'll surely reach the Pure Land, whether I eat meat today or kill, steal, indulge, or lie. Whatever bad karma I idly make, there will be no result, because my teacher is so great. They take the teacher's compassion to be all-powerful, able to do anything, to toss them like a stone into the Western Pure Land or some other pure realm. But this notion is unsound. A qualified teacher surely has compassion, yet to liberate all beings by his compassion alone is hard. Consider, even the Buddhas of the 3 times, throughout the whole vast universe, with great wisdom, great compassion, and great power, care for beings so tenderly. Even they can't simply toss all beings into a pure realm. Even when the Buddha lived, so many beings didn't believe in the Dharma. Did he not pity them? He cared for them with great compassion. So, as the scriptures say, the misdeeds of beings cannot be washed away with water. Their suffering cannot be removed by the Buddha's hand. The Buddha's wisdom cannot be poured into their minds. What, then, is the Buddha's one method? To teach beings the pure, peaceful Dharma. Only after beings understand what to adopt and abandon in cause and effect is there hope of liberation. When we studied the ornament of clear realization, the opening praised the qualities of transcendent wisdom, calling homage to it the cause of the 4 kinds of noble beings. It was set out there that the aim of the Buddha's attainment is to turn the wheel of Dharma. By turning that wheel, the Buddha benefits beings. Apart from this, he can't drag them one by one into Sukhavati. There's no other way. The Buddha's one means of liberating beings is to turn the wheel of Dharma. When we studied the last chapter of the ornament of clear realization on the Buddha's activity, that activity too is teaching the Dharma. Through it, some gain the support for the path, some gain the path itself, and some, by the path, attain the fruit. So the Buddha's 3 kinds of activity are bound up with expounding the Dharma. So the text says it's good, of course, to rely on the teacher and to feel sincere devotion and respect for him. A patient with no respect for the doctor gets no benefit from the prescription. But suppose instead you say, I need not take medicine. I need no injections. Doctor, I leave my whole illness to you, and yet you take no medicine yourself. If the doctor is short-tempered, he won't keep you by him. If you won't take the medicine, what can I do? My only means is to give you the diagnosis and the medicine. After that, take it properly yourself. Follow my method and you may improve. If you won't, how can you stay with me? That's how it would go. With some, faith in the teacher runs so high that they leave everything to him, saying, no matter, my teacher blesses me always. I don't even need to look after my wallet. The teacher will protect it for me. But that's not so. Even the teacher's own wallet often gets lost or stolen. So to treat the teacher as a source of blessings in that sense isn't sound. I do think true teachers have compassion, but we have to look closely at what the teacher's compassion really is. What, exactly, deserves the name of the teacher's compassion? The text explains it. The teacher's true compassion is to take in disciples with a compassionate heart, to teach them the profound Dharma and the principles of what to adopt and abandon, and, following the Buddha's own words, to reveal the supreme path of liberation. There's no higher compassion than this. That's what the teacher's compassion is. Many today, though, have a different idea of it. They don't count the mere transmission of the Dharma as compassion. For instance, suppose I have transmitted a profound teaching to you, and you say, Teacher, transmitting teachings is fine, but be kind and call me often. Be kind. Let's go on pilgrimage to the sacred mountain together, or share a meal. You aren't kind, but such and such a teacher is kind. He often has meals with me. So we can see how well people grasp what compassion truly is may be worth examining. A teacher's true compassion is to take disciples in and guide them onto the path through compassion. There are indeed teachers of great compassion. I often think of our own teacher, Jigme Phuntsok Rinpoche. He and many great masters are truly compassionate. They drew us out of the deep pit of samsara, and when we understood nothing, like children just learning to speak, led us into the truth of the Dharma. When I reflect on this, the teacher's compassion far surpasses every worldly kind. The love of parents and kin, deep as it is, reaches only so far. Parents are kind to us, yes, but what do? They teach us to walk, to eat, to dress, and pass on a little simple knowledge. But past that, they can't give us the great truth. As for the suffering of our long wandering in samsara, parents never even thought to solve it. But the teacher, for us, wretched and dull as we are, has transmitted such profound teachings from the start until now, so that we grasp something of cause and effect, of what to adopt and abandon. And the teacher follows the Buddha's word. A true spiritual friend always does. As the Kadampa teachings say, what accords with the Buddha's word is the true Dharma. What does not is not the Dharma. So, are the teachers truly compassionate? How can you tell? Look at what they teach. If their words accord fully with the sutras and treatises, the teacher is truly compassionate. If they run counter to scripture, the teacher may have a hidden agenda of his own. So transmitting the Dharma to us in keeping with the true scriptures, that is the teacher's compassion. And beyond the Dharma, there is nothing more. So in relying on a spiritual friend, other forms of reliance may be as you please. But if a teacher never expounds the truths of the Dharma to you and only has you work for him all day, that's not quite right. Unless, as with Milarepa serving Marpa, it's service to an extraordinary adept. In that case, as Jigme Lingpa, the great Dzogchen master, taught, such service may one day become a chance for awakening. But for ordinary people, I often urge this. As a disciple relying on a spiritual friend, be sure to gain benefit through his teaching of the Dharma. It's not about the teacher phoning you, giving you a little money, comforting you, or offering some worldly advice when you're low. None of that's what matters. A good teacher should benefit his or her disciples through the Dharma. As a true disciple, hold in mind the teachings you receive, and then practice them always. Otherwise, the teacher can't prod you daily, giving a teaching today and standing over you tomorrow to check whether you've studied, like watching a child at homework, following you about and watching over you forever. That's not possible. Any spiritual friend, in youth or middle age, has transmitted the relevant teachings to the disciples with whom he has a connection. And then, perhaps, he passes to another realm or goes elsewhere as conditions lead, to help other beings. In our lives, many spiritual friends are indeed like this. Some have already gone to pure realms, some haven't. Yet the conditions that gather many together are only occasional. We can't be together forever, just as with our schooling as children. Once you finish primary school, the primary teacher doesn't follow you forever. Once you finish middle school, neither does that teacher. So, except for a rare few disciples of great merit, it's impossible to rely on one spiritual friend forever. But the crucial thing is this: when the teacher expounds the Dharma to you, remember it and practice it always. Only then is there a real bond between teacher and disciple. So it may be put this way: beyond this, there's no other compassion. And whether by the teacher's compassion one can enter the path of liberation depends, in the end, on oneself. As they say in China too, the master leads you to the door. The practice is your own. The master brings you onto the path, through the gate of the Dharma. Whether you then practice depends mainly on yourself. The teacher has already shown you. I have taught you the path of liberation. Know that liberation depends on you. So even the Buddha had only this method. To his vast assembly, he taught the Four Noble Truths. Some of good capacity practiced his word faithfully and attained accomplishment, while others didn't, and instead bred wrong views toward the Buddha, and so fell into the three lower realms. So we must always remember that liberation depends on ourselves, especially now that we've gained a free and well-favored human birth and know the essentials of what to adopt and abandon. This free moment of ours is the warning line where we set our course for lifelong virtue or lifelong wrongdoing. Especially now, we've been most fortunate to gain a human life as rare as a wish-fulfilling jewel, a life fit for practicing the Dharma, with the blessings of spiritual friends and of all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Though we can't claim to have mastered the meaning of every vast sutra and treatise, we do grasp the basics of the path, that good brings good and evil brings evil, how to rely on a spiritual friend, the suffering of samsara, the importance of bodhicitta and of refuge, and so on. These basic essentials we've understood. And so, for each of us, this is a moment of freedom, and for that very reason, the most crucial moment of all. Whether you become forever happy or forever wretched, the decisive crossing is now in your own hands. It's as if you stand at a warning line. One step and you fall into the abyss. One step the other way and you set foot on the stairway upward. Which road you take is entirely your own choice. Many now have the chance to grasp the basic principles of the Dharma. So at this point, it rests with you whether your future is bright or dark. You decide. I see some who choose the profound path for themselves, and that's wise. Yesterday, a Dharma friend asked to be ordained. Our institute normally requires 4 months observation before ordination, but her heart was set. She said she had given up all her studies abroad and must be ordained. As I deliberated a good while, she said, whether it means liberation or suffering ever after, I feel that in this very life, if I don't ordain now, nothing else will mean anything to me. I must be ordained. Weighing it all, I saw the sense in her words. She had set down family, work, and her studies abroad. She let go of everything. At times, we have no choice but to grant a special exception. People's outlooks differ. Some can let go and lay everything down. Others can't let go of it all. But each of us should recognize that now is the most crucial moment, like a graduate filling out his forms. Which workplace you go to rests, crucially, on you, in the same way. We now have these rare conditions. We've heard the Dharma and gained a human birth. Practice virtue now, and we'll go on to the higher realms, to rebirth in the Pure Land, and the like. Keep doing evil now. Keep piling up bad deeds. And there's no need to ask anyone about the future. Suffering is certain. So this is the most crucial time. We should follow the teacher's word to the letter. Practice steadily and solidly, and mark clearly the line between samsara and nirvana. This is crucial, so there's little else to deliberate. First, rely on a truly good teacher. Then follow his word without reservation and practice steadily. Don't go here today and there tomorrow. To rely on too many teachers, especially for one who already holds wrong views, does little good. Many now are like browsers. Today they drop in at this center for a class, tomorrow at that one, here and there, and in the end find no direction at all. From my own years of study and practice, I've come to feel that one should first seek a teacher of genuine compassion to benefit others, and then rely on him steadily and long, not fickle, fancying one teacher today and another tomorrow. Say you rely on a teacher today who gives you a ritual. You must do the Ksitigarbha practice. It's excellent. So for 2 or 3 days you recite the Kshitigarbha Sutra. A while later you go east to another teacher who says reciting the Diamond Sutra is excellent. So you recite a little of it there, to no effect. You come to Tibet, and they have you practice Yamantaka. Excellent, but 2 or 3 days and you stop. Some people in one lifetime take up a great many practices, casting off one teacher and taking another, casting that one off and taking yet another, back and forth, until they can find no focus. First, the scriptures and treatises require us to examine the spiritual friend, and once we've examined and chosen, the longer we stay, the better. In my own years of relying on Jigme Phuntsok Rinpoche, there are many great spiritual friends near us, and I hold no wrong view toward them. I think them all extraordinary. Yet I feel the teachings for practice I have are already enough. Before relying on him, I had relied on some other teachers, but over all these years, what I have is enough for me. The real question is whether you can put a teaching into practice. If you can, it's enough. Practice this way over the long term, and you'll simply not fall into the lower realms. As the long discourses say, that one who practices virtue over the long night should fall to the lower realms and suffer an evil result. That cannot be. So the text says, if we practice virtue over the long term, to fall into the 3 lower realms or meet an evil result simply can't happen. After all, anyone who trusts cause and effect knows that whatever he does will bring a matching result. So if from now on I practice virtue with all my strength, there's no chance of my falling to the lower realms. As ordinary beings, of course, our power to do good is slight, but if we give it our all, it'll tell. Many here, from morning to night, may at times raise bad thoughts, stray thoughts, afflictions in the mind stream. That happens. But if we spend most of our time on study, reflection, and practice, and pass our whole life this way, then we should be confident of liberation. We aren't people who kill and steal from morning to night, doing such evil every day. If we were, there'd be no hope of liberation. A few monastics here seem unsure. Will I fall? I raise bad thoughts every day. But there are bad thoughts and good thoughts both, and some neutral states too. Yet in our conduct, we aren't killing or harming people day after day. With such conduct, and having taken the lay or monastic vows, we recite mantras each day with all our strength. The result doesn't deceive. Liberation is certain. So, by the blessings of the teacher and the 3 jewels, many have the chance to practice. Now let each of us quietly make the aspiration, in this brief life, never to turn aside, never to slander the Dharma or act against it. Never. Make this aspiration in your heart. Its power is great. So when we look at our situation, we can feel a quiet gladness. In this life, we've met the Dharma and such good teachers. We dare not claim high realization now, but we can pass our lives in this state, at peace and content in our hearts. So we should think, good. We'll stop here for today.
Bandharangara Padma Sadarda Bandharangara Padma Sadarda Bandharangara Padma Sadarda